Obama's faith. You may remember this.
You don't believe that Senator Obama's a Muslim?
Of course not. I mean, that's, that there is no basis for that. I take him on the basis of what he says, and, there isn't any reason to doubt that.
And you said you take Senator Obama at his word that he's not a Muslim. You don't believe that he's a Muslim?
No, why would I? No, there is nothing to base that on, as far as I know.
As far as I know. Joining me for reaction, the author of A Disgrace to the Profession, Mark Steyn, is with us. Mark, it goes deeper than that. The Politico reported, the Telegraph reported, Mediaite reported, all these outlets reminded us that it was the Clinton campaign that circulated an email questioning Obama's citizenship. Quote, Barack Obama's mother was living in Kenya with his Arab African father late in her pregnancy. She was not allowed to travel at the time, so Barack Obama was born there, and his mother took him to Hawaii to register his birth, according to the email chain that they sent out. The Clintons sent out.
That's right.
She's the original birther, if you will.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, Sean. A lot of the sinister, exotic, mysterious foreigner stuff about Obama was actually started by the Clinton campaign. He, to a certain extent, has done his best to vindicate some of it, but the fact is that this was an intra-Democratic Party dispute started by Hillary Clinton trying to paint Barack Obama as the exotic other. She started it, the original birther.
Yeah, and David Plouffe at the time said it's the most shameful, offensive, fear-mongering we've ever seen, and people seem to forget. They had to fire 2 Iowa staffers for circulating the email. So, it's kind of funny. Right. Ben Carson says it. She's lecturing Ben Carson. Is this the height of hypocrisy on her part?
Well, I think it's actually worse than that. Ben Carson was asked a theoretical question. I mean, Muslims seem to be, the Muslim question seems to be the equivalent to the contraceptive question 4 years ago. Nobody was talking about it, but suddenly we've all got to have a view on whether there should be a Muslim president. Unless Donald Trump is planning on coming out as a Muslim, Bernie Sanders, maybe he's Muslim, but there isn't actually a declared Muslim candidate. But Hillary is being particularly ridiculous because she specifically attacked a specific person for his faith and his background, whereas Ben Carson is just entirely legitimately answering a hypothetical. And there are plenty of reasons to look at the conflict between Islam and free societies and discuss that hypothetical. I mean, Hillary Clinton is resting on the Constitution. She says the Constitution doesn't impose a religious test. No, but the Constitution imposes a constitutional test. And for many observant Muslims, the paramountcy of the U.S. Constitution would be a significant problem if you were to become the chief executive.
Well, we could start with freedom of speech. I mean, those that are critical of Islam or the Prophet, the punishment can be death. Or we can look at the application of Sharia in Muslim countries today. And I went through this with Dr. Carson last night. In other words, in Saudi Arabia, women can't drive. They can't be seen in public without a male relative. There are other Muslim countries where women need 4 male eyewitnesses for rape. If you leave the faith, you are viewed as an apostate, the penalty of which is death. Right. So I think it is legitimate and it is fair to say Sharia, the application of Islam in Muslim countries, every one of them, to some extent or another, is the antithesis of what our Constitution offers. So doesn't that make that argument more legitimate?
Yes, I think so. And what's ridiculous is that the same liberals who are saying, oh, wouldn't it be lovely to have a Muslim president? It'd make us even more delightfully diverse and multicultural, are the same people who a few months back were demonstrating outside the Beverly Hills Hotel, which is owned by the Sultan of Brunei, and they say he's a big homophobe because the penalty for homosexuality in Brunei is stoning to death. Now, the Sultan of Brunei is an urbane, civilized, charming man. And when his country was a British colony, it lived under English common law. And since it ceased to be a colony, it's been getting less and less common law and more Sharia. 70 years ago, Pakistan lived under common law. Now it lives under Islamic law. 50 years ago, Nigeria lived under English common law. Now half of it's under Sharia. So clearly the coming to power of observant, devout Muslims has driven a stake through the legal tradition and inheritance that this country also happens to share.
That also raises another question. The President, even though James Clapper and our State Department have told us, the highest levels in our intelligence community have told us that ISIS and Al-Qaeda will infiltrate the refugee population, that they want to take as many as 200,000. And I assume that number will go higher over time. Now, I happen to be of the belief that if we risk taking one radical Islamist into the country in the refugee population, that we have made a big mistake and put the entire country at risk. Are the Republicans going to fight back on that?
Well, I would certainly hope so. The fact is, several Republican candidates seem to think we should take these refugees and seem to think that we have the capacity to check their bona fides. I happen to go through U.S. immigration.
And how do you do that?
And I was all concerned in case...
How do you determine if someone's a genuine refugee or if somebody is a terrorist that has been trained to lie to you and say that he's here for humanitarian reasons, for a better life for his family?
Well,
he'll lie.
Well, they won't. They won't, because it'll be a straight... My lawyer told me that my application, they spent 6 minutes on it. I would think that, if anything, it's maybe down to 3 minutes by now. So I would imagine that most of these refugees, it will in effect be no more different than what's happening at the Hungarian border, where every so often a bunch of them scramble across the fence and you don't know who the hell they are. And here they'll just be filling in the paper, but it'll still be exactly the same as scrambling over the fence. You'll have no clue who they are, what their real name is, where they came from.
So Sharia and the Constitution are at odds with each other. And that's what the American people need to know as we continue this debate. But stay right there. More Mark Steyn.